And we're live! Welcome to SPSM Chat tonight. We are so excited to have you here. I'm @Doc Foreman. I'm one of your friendly moderators, but we have a lovely team. And I want to introduce you to tonight's team. Just for reference, remember that you can filter your tweets and follow us and tweet at us with hashtag SPSM. You can also comment in the comments below on YouTube, and we try to get around to some of those. I'm here with Dr. Bart Andrews, @Bart Andrews. Bart, say hi to the people and introduce yourself.
Oh, good evening, everybody. It's a joy to be here with the SPSM crew. I am Dr. Bart Andrews at Behavioral Health Response, a wonderful crisis agency in St. Louis, Missouri. You can reach me at Bart Andrews on Twitter. It's just that easy. And I'm excited about the topic tonight. Veterans and peers are both issues that are near and dear to me. My brother was in the Navy for 17 years and loved the Navy. And we have Allison Alsop, who is sometimes joins us, is a veteran, works at BHR, and is a huge advocate for veteran issues. So I'm really excited and can't wait to learn more about what Tom is doing. So
before we get to Tom, our wonderful guest, you also had some other things that you wanted to announce about SPSM, correct?
So I did want to talk about, so Tony, the amazing Tony Wood, created a Twitter list of SPSM users. We're calling it Suicide Disruptors.
Disrupt suicide.
Disrupt suicide. That list is on the SPSM chat account. You can find it there, and you can subscribe to it, so it'll show up on yours as well. So you can actually go to your you can go to your list. You can go to your list and add it as well. You can go add it from...
Explain to the people how the list thing works. Assume not everyone here knows.
Thank you. So a list is basically where a bunch of accounts that have a shared interest are all listed in one place. And that way, for instance, the way this works, right now you can go to that list and you can click on it and you can see everybody that's on the list. And one of the tags will let you look at all the tweets that everybody on that list is doing. Like this morning, I spent about 20-25 minutes going through and looking at all the activity for all the folks on that list, and there was amazing activity. And so this is a way for us all to stay connected and see what each other is doing without having to remember what everybody's handle is. You can just go to the list, and if you go to the list, please go to the list, check it out. If you're not on the list, you want to be on the list, we will add you. And we're really excited, and it's a way for us to all stay together and see what each other is doing. I don't know, those of you who tweet a lot, when I look at my home screen, there's so much going on that being able to find a tighter group where a lot more interesting things that are relevant to me are happening on a regular basis. I really like that, so Tony did that, and I was really pleased with the list, and I used it this morning, and we're hoping that we can get folks using the list.
And remember, the list is a great thing if you're new to Twitter, as some of our SPSM community people are, to let you know who to follow. You can look at the list without following people and sort of get a sense what a fuller follow feed might look like and how you might want to do that. And Tony and Bart are happy to tell you more. Tony, say hi to the people.
Howdy, everybody!
Everybody, it's our IT production manager, always in the wings, never lonely, never afraid to do things to my tech. Tony Wood, if you have a question about what's going on tonight, text or tweet him at @ADWW. And without further ado, let me introduce, that was an unfortunate slip, introduce Tom Cruise at TCruise76, our very own SPSM community member. We had him on the show as sort of part of a panel just a few weeks ago, and he was so good that we really wanted to expand on some of the information he shared. It wasn't enough time, and so he agreed to come back and talk a lot about moderating a peer-space community. Now, a couple things you want to know about Tom before he gets on and tells his story. First of all, Tom is still active duty. He's so youthful that it would not occur to me that he's 20 years in the Army, that he is a master sergeant, that he's been deployed 4 times, combat veteran, totally amazing. And then he also, in addition, like as if this weren't enough, kids, in addition, he uses his personal life and personal story to specifically give back to veterans and to work on suicide prevention out of a sense of personal mission. And I'm going to let Tom totally take it away from here and tell you about himself and share his story. Tom?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, April, and the whole team for having me back. You guys are wonderful, and I love following the chats every Sunday. So yeah, like I said, like she mentioned, I've been in for 20 years. I've been deployed 4 times. I went to Kosovo in '99, and then I've been to Iraq 3 times in '05 to '06, '06 to '07, '07 to '08. And then I had my own personal experiences with suicide with one of my bosses who committed suicide, and I was one of the last people to talk to him. And then I seeked counseling out at that point, and went through an organization that was around my base. And when I sought it out, they pretty much blew off what I was telling them that I was feeling about. They pretty much just said, "Hey, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You're okay." And after 30 minutes of me telling them, "No, I really think something's wrong," they pretty much still dismissed me. And so at that point, I told this person that I rode my motorcycle and I was going to ride my motorcycle into a wall, and they pretty much just laughed at me and let me leave. And so at that point, that's when I never sought therapy again, because if that was the reaction I was going to get, then I was not going to. Why should I get therapy? So I tried to handle everything myself. Well, speeded up a couple more years, and I had to break my own self. One night, I ended up holding my fiance, which is now my wife, hostage for about 6 hours, and it was going to kill both of us. And it was getting a lot of text messages and phone calls, and police were called, and everybody was called in, and some misinformation was given out to the police, which escalated it. And through that time, the texts that I was getting in and a lot of messages that were coming to me were all not what I had learned, that you should not talk to a person that is suicidal. They thought they were helping. It was not very helpful, and so it just helped escalate it. Well, my fiance and my wife, which was in the situation with me, was the only person that was trying to de-escalate the situation. And so through many, many hours of her being in there with me, she de-escalated it, which she was fighting off the people that were saying stuff that was aggravating me, and then making the situation worse. I was actually in I don't know what even it is. No one's ever been able to diagnose what it was. But when I came to and noticed that what was going on, I pretty much knew my career was over. I was like, wow, I don't know what I just did. I've got police lined up everywhere. I've got negotiators on the phone. I've got, my fiance here. And so at that point, I thought I was going to take my own life anyways. I was just like, well, there's no good around here due to my job and everything else. It was just, this couldn't end well. So I had told her to leave and said, hey, go ahead and leave the room. You're good to go. And she wouldn't leave. And she literally sat, I had the gun to my head and leaned up against the wall, and she sat in like 2 inches away from my face and just kept telling me how much she loved me and how she wasn't going to leave. And she knew if she left what was going to happen. I'd either shot it out with the cops or I would have shot myself. And she knew that, and she wouldn't leave. And she just kept telling me, reassuring me, I love you, we can get through this. And just instead of running, she stayed there with me. And so she was the one that helped me dismantle the gun, put everything away. She held my hand downstairs out the door, and she gripped harder as we got to the door because she knew that I was going to kick her out and run back upstairs. And she got me out, and then from there, I went to Walter Reed. Once the local hospital pretty much let me go. I was like, well, because I was as coherent as I was now, I was like, I tell you everything. I don't know what happened. Here's what I know. And there was nothing in my system. There was no drugs. There was no alcohol. There was nothing. No police report because neither one of us filed charges against each other. And they said, okay, well, go home. And I was like, I think something's wrong. And so then I was sent over to Walter Reed, where I participated in a bunch of different programs. And each one of them was different and did different things, and I still wasn't getting what I thought I needed. And so then they sent me over to the Wounded Warrior side, and I ended up, what finally snapped for me was MRT, a Master Resilience course. And so with that, that's what the Army teaches, to teach you how to handle situations in a calm manner and de-escalate the situation. And so that was finally the program for me that was able to help me organize everything that's chaotic in my life. And so I was two out of the 25 in the group that was able to stay in the military, and I fought to stay in and took more tests and everything, and the military let me stay in. And due to my job, I had to have a clearance. And the clearance facility, so this is where it breaks the stigma about the clearance, and also is I was able to stay in the military, and then the clearance facility looked at everything that I was doing. I was going MRT, I was going to PTSD groups. I was going seeking anger management, which I didn't need. I saw all kinds of other sessions, and the Army system looked at all that and said, okay, we're going to see your progress, and we're going to give you a warning. You don't screw up in a year, you're full-fledged with your stuff. And that's 5 years ago now, and so I was able to keep my clearance, and now I'm actually married to that woman, and we actually then had a child 2.5 years ago, and he was born. This happened 3 November 2010. Our son was born 1 November 2012, and we brought him home on 3 November 2012. So we was able to now do that. So what we do now is we go around and tell our story. I give what I can remember and talk from a military standpoint about the stigma of going to get help, especially at my rank and coming out, and then I talk about the stigma about going to get help for clearance purposes. And then,
can you explain a little bit about what the rank of Master Sergeant is? Because I have learned now what that really means about who you are as a person, but can you explain to our community who may not all be military?
Well, Master Sergeant is basically the second highest rank within the NCO, non-commissioned officer's rank. There's only one more rank for me to get within that, and that'd be Sergeant Major. Within the E8 rank, there's Master Sergeant and First Sergeant. I've held both, and then the only one more promotion I can get is Sergeant Major.
And what kinds of people get those ranks? Because that's a really specific sort of character that gets there where you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal boards and showing that you have the leadership styles, and basically you're boarded each year, and they look at how well you've done through your, basically it's called an NCR, but it's like a report card every year. It says how good you've done in certain areas, and then it goes in front of a board, and if the board sees that you have all the qualities to continue on and be a leader at the next level, then they pick you. It's a panel that looks at everything.
Well, and I'm going to just tell you sort of my experience, which is that leaders who make it this far are especially good leaders. It's not like they've got a professional degree and sort of started with, a commission. Like, you have to really, with grit and skill, earn the respect of the people that you serve over and over and over again. You have to have a certain quality of character to get to that point,
Right.
in my opinion, from what I have seen from that group as a whole.
And also, I had a good leadership at the job that I was going to that looked at everything, and they could easily said, no, we don't want you to work with us anymore or anything after this. And they all looked at everything, and they took it on. And again, that breaks the stigma of the leadership. You can have a good leadership. You can have people looking out for you and saying, you know what, we're going to give this guy a second chance. Because they didn't have to give me a second chance either. But they chose to. They looked at everything and said, you know what, we still want him, to be within our ranks. And, so I have a ton of people I appreciate for getting me to where I am now, because without each one of those people, it wasn't done by me. It was done by a lot of people helping me. I busted my ass to do what I've done, but there's a lot of people that helped me get where I'm at too. So I appreciate those guys every day. And then, so my wife then gets up after I talk, and she talks about what she did, what she said, and those moments of 4 or 5 hours where she was the one sitting there having to deal against people, what they were saying, and then how she dealt with talking me down, and what words you say, what stuff you don't say to people, and kind of how to comfort them. And then we have our son usually at everyone too, to show the culmination of everything, to show that you can have your job, you can have your clearance, you can have a family, you can have a career, and oh, by the way, you can add it to your family and continue to be productive people within your job field, within society. You don't have to be hammered down by one incident that
one crisis doesn't define you.
Exactly.
I mean, you're really talking about honest to God recovery.
Right. And so I don't use any medications. I've been cleared through my my doctors, and I don't have I don't use all that stuff. I've been through tons of them. My form of therapy is doing these talks and going to get help when I need it, or talking to experts like yourself and a lot of your team when I'm like, hey, I need some help or something like that. And so I've taken that, and I've done now through the use of social media about helping veterans out. Social media now has come to rule everything. That's where everyone puts their feelings, their bad days, their good days, you know, what I ate, what I worked out, where am I going, what did I just do? I mean, you can follow a person's every minute, and knows everything they do on there, and this is where the people are putting their true feelings now, where it makes it a little, I want to say, a little bit easier to, you know, look at your buddy and not try to figure out how they're feeling, or they can hide it better, because you can usually go to their social media and see that they're really having a bad day, or something's bothering them, and can kind of give you a hint. And the community, the veteran community, has really come together in recognizing that and bringing that forward now to lots of groups and organizations. I mean, there's pockets and pockets of groups that are springing up everywhere where, you know, we're uniting to take care of our own. And, you know, every night, every day, we're taking, you know, there's so many non-recorded, unseen people that are getting help by just peers, by their buddies going out and going, you know what do you need? And then people, you know, like me and like a ton of other people that are going, okay, well, you need this. And then we reach out. Like, I know I reached out to you guys a bunch of times and said, hey, I've got a veteran that needs this. Do you know anybody in this area? Or do you know where in the country I can get these guys this help?
Oh, and you get like 20 responses, and they're good responses. I mean, it's truly amazing. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. I'm gonna pass the feed quickly back to Josh, and then we're going to come back to you talking about your community and what you do. So, did I say Josh? I mean Bart.
Who's Josh? Tony, is there a Josh on the side?
I should give you a new name. I think you have Josh. Your name is kind of Josh to me. It just really reads Josh.
I get no respect. No respect.
Bart, what was it like to listen? I don't think I've ever heard Tom's full story. What was it like for you?
Powerful, extremely powerful, and the courage that it takes to tell that story and to do so with such openness and vulnerability. That's strength to me, and I think one of the things that when I work with veterans and when I work with anybody in recovery, one of the things that somehow we've gotten this wrong in our culture, being able to be vulnerable is the truest form of strength, right? That ability to do that and to share was so powerful. And I think also hearing both the good aspects and the bad aspects of how the military responded. I think things are getting better. I'd like to hear they're getting a lot better, but I think that Tom's description of what that was like early on was pretty typical when I talk to vets, that it gets minimized and invalidated, and hey, don't worry about it, we'll move on. And the story of his partner and her persistence and her courage in that situation almost brought tears to my eyes. So one of the things that really hit me, all that stuff hit me, and there's a lot of stuff, but the one thing I really want to highlight in what Tom said was the importance of leadership. And that leadership in our institutions saves lives. That when our leaders in our institutions step forward and say, we're gonna respect this person in recovery, we're gonna care about them, and we're gonna treat them like everybody else. When leadership sets that tone, that's what really combats prejudice and discrimination against persons who are struggling with suicide and with mental illness and substance use disorders. It's about leadership, and leadership can do this. And that's why I'm a big fan of Zero Suicide, because Zero Suicide, a big piece of Zero Suicide, is about impacting the leadership. So that's why I'm glad we have leaders here in the SPSM community. And Tom, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Totally amazing.
Tom, can you talk a little bit, this is a wonderful point to do a transition, about social media communities, because you need to probably fill in our viewers a little bit about what you have been, what you have been doing on social media, because it's fairly specific.
Well, through social media, we're able to identify people that are at risk, or people that are come to us third party, like, hey, I got a buddy, he just posted, you know, I'll see you on the other side, or at that point. Some of the pages that I belong to have followings of close to 500,000 followers. At any point that we can sit there and help out, we will take that information and get it as soon as we can, because obviously we know time is of the essence. And we have courses of action of what we do. You know, we can sit there and either put it out on the main page, where we're going to know some of these pages have a 1.5 million person reach off just some of their memes. So when we put that information out there and we say, hey, does anybody live in Topeka, Kansas? And we can get boots on the ground, as we call it, where we can get people to either get to a location or we can get, if we can find, we look through their profiles and find mutual friends, and we find out, okay, well, the last post he posted was, and these guys are the people that commented under it. Okay, now let's start messaging those people because, one, we would like to get somebody that's close to them, that's closer to them. Like, I'm here in Florida. Okay, I can't get to Topeka, Kansas to help these people, but if I can look through his profile or find a friend that can, then I can find maybe one of his buddies he hangs out with and try to reach them through social media, message them and go, hey, your buddy just posted something weird, can you head over to his house? And then the second step we can do is we put it on the main page of those types of organizations and say, hey, we got a veteran in need, he lives here, boom, who lives in that area? And you'll be amazed of like, oh wow, I'm 2 hours away, I'll go there now. I live half an hour away. Third and final step.
I have seen this multiple times. I'm like getting a little choked up now. I've seen you in action multiple times, and people do. They sort through, they stop what they're doing, and they say, I can physically go help, and they do, which is amazing.
I've had multiple times where we've called and we've had 3 or 4 person team show up at a person's house, and give us feed by feed, and then we, some of us have a lot of outside training. I'm MRT, I have QPR, which is a gatekeeper.
You need to explain what MRT is. Like almost none of these folks are going to know. Like
MRT is the military version for the Master Resilience course, where what I was talking about how to be able to de-escalate, thoughts and be able to just basically anything in your day, you can, de-escalate it. Like you got a meeting and you're all anxious. Well, you can sit down and take 5 minutes and use some of the skill sets, and that's it. Okay, take a breather. It's not going to be that bad. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do well. And it really just gets you off that peak of anxiety to a calm level state. QPR is basically the social media version where you become a gatekeeper, and it's another suicide training that you can get certified in, where they just give you tactics and give you learning skills on what to do if you know somebody. Basically, I like to call it just another tool in the toolbox. I'm assist qualified, which is another training for given through Living Works for suicide training. I'm actually about to become T4T trained here in about a week, which then gives me the ability to be able to train others to become assist qualified, which would be awesome because of the amount of people I work with and online. That'll be a great asset. So I've taken these upon myself to get trained in all this stuff because, one, it helps me try to still figure out what happened to me since I've never really gotten an answer. So it helps me dissect. I do a lot of research, and I've been doing this for like 4 years now, dealing with the veterans and being able to, okay, what commonalities do we see? What is the ground foundations? What are the common things? And I also have, obviously, real life experience where I can, I have street cred, I guess. I can talk the talk because I've been there, which is how I kind of lead off.
Oh, your lived experience is an asset. It doesn't make you the weakest link?
No, not so far.
That was me being a sarcastic flash sarcasm. No, I think that's awesome. Can I point out some things that I have personally witnessed that I think are particularly interesting that you guys do? Mm-hmm. So, when we had Dr. Steven Stack on, and I'm going to switch the camera here. When we had Dr. Stack on, one of the things he was talking about is in suicide prevention, we talk about what's happening inside the individual's head a lot in terms of what we think we should intervene with or prevent. But in the movies and the arts, when they talk about suicide, they really notice these big sort of external environmental factors that really lead to stress a person to go to that point. If we were to take any kind of insight from that, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times when you have somebody in need, there are some very specific stories. Say, this person is mentally ill, we shall go to their house until they're not crazy. He's like, that's not how you do that. In fact, you will do things like they need a lawyer. Do we know someone who has any experience with housing? They need some help with employment. I'm like, you will mention, like, we need to know who knows what the resources are to help with this kind of problem in that area. And so sometimes when I've been asked to help, it is, who do I know who will either know the resources or can I help them find the thing that they need? Because that's what's happened. Your boots on the ground approach is some friends go over to their battle buddy's house. they find out what's going on, and then they figure out sort of how to help them solve the problem, assuming that the person's problem is tough and they can't solve it by themselves, and that you will use your network to get resources. I mean, am I explaining this sort of okay?
Oh yeah, because I like to say I'm not, I'm not certified, I'm not qualified to do anything, but I know I can at least be a band-aid. I like to say I can solve the problem for the moment. I can't solve their actual problem at all. That's not what I do, but I can stop the moment and then try to find out what is the bottom line issue that got them to this point, and then go through a safety plan with them, and then go and find that resource, like you said. Okay, and right now there's a big push of trying to just find, and just because the veteran community is the way it is, trying to find veteran-ran resources. Just because we know, like with my past experience, that with a veteran-ran resource that we understand that it's going to, there may be more care, and that's just the stigma that's out there of, well, you know what, if we go to a civilian one, they're not going to understand what I'm saying, they may not be able to help me, they may not want to help me. So there's a big push of trying to first build that and then build the database with civilian and veteran, and build as much, and then kind of build a circle around this person, where he can reach out, because again, I'm in Florida, I can't help a person in Kansas, but these guys are boots on the ground, can. So our last resource always is law enforcement. I've done it plenty of times where I've actually can't get a response. I'll call law enforcement of that city and get them out there. Every situation I've had that in, it's been very. I've had good outcomes. I've had the person call me back and say, you know what, thank you for doing that, I appreciate it. I've had the law enforcement call me back and go, you know what, we had this guy on our tracker, we did notice it, we can't tell you anything, but you know what, that was a good call. Or every experience I've had so far with law enforcement has not been bad, and I've dealt with many states.
So, whoa, go back, because this is like super contentious among the lived experience folks who really comment on social media. And I'm going to tell you, not everybody has a consistently good experience with law enforcement. I think that I have better than average experiences. I think there is something about being a veteran that you get a certain level of rapport. What are the things that you think that help you have a good experience with law enforcement when it comes to the point where you must call them?
And the biggest key of all this is follow-up. Follow-up. When I deal with somebody, I make sure I follow up with that person the next day, and then for the following week, and wean it off. It's never that they don't know I called, or they don't know who I am, or I haven't tried to talk, or I haven't messaged them, or they can't sit there and call me back and whatever. So I believe with why it's worked for me so far is because I've been able to follow up and say, you know what, and if they get mad, it's like, well, why'd you do that? Well, this is why I did it. This is why I did, because you left me no choice. You wouldn't answer the door. You didn't answer the phone calls. You didn't answer a text. You didn't answer all the media, social media, just to say, hey, I'm fine. You didn't give us none of that. You gave us no choice. And when your last words were, I'll see you on the other side of that, you gave me no choice. And then the biggest thing, like I said, is follow-up. I always tell the law enforcement, please give me a call back. Let me know everything went all right. And I usually get at the beginning of, one, my name, or is this a trick? And they already have my phone number, so I'm like, you got my number. It's not like I'm pranking you. And then the thing is, why do you even care? And I'm like, well, because it's a veteran of mine. It's another brother or sister, and yeah, I don't know them, but we take care of our own. And then they go out and test it, and then I'll call back, or they'll give me a call. And the last one I did, they called back and said, you know what, we had some feeling about it, but we didn't know anything, and we appreciate you for calling, and everything's good. And then I called the person, and again, I messaged them and said, hey, that was me. Is everything okay? And so far for me, I have not had an issue with the law enforcement. I know some people have, and I see all the social media stuff too, where they, totally against it and don't do it. Well, for me, I'd rather you get mad at me answering the door than them finding you, because I've had situations where they've been. All the information came out way too late, and they went through that door, and the person was already gone. And that's a crusher, because if we would have acted on the information sooner, if we had the information sooner, then would we have stopped it? I don't know, but I will always believe I would have liked to have tried.
I want to something that I think that you said is really critical, and then I'm going to let Bart sort of chime in. is that when you're interacting with law enforcement or when I'm interacting with any community agency about someone that I'm serving, and this is a job where I interact with a lot of different LEOs all over different parishes and in sometimes in different states, by really communicating when I'm making the call that this person is valued and cared about by me and by their team, I'm sure that saying veteran helps. That matters. But I think there's a specific thing that you do where you say, I really care about this person, so they went from a nuisance that you're just sort of calling it in and going about your day, versus I really care, and could you call me and let me know how it's okay, because I really need to know. I will sleep so much better sort of knowing what happened. That you set the tone that this is a valued person. And I don't know why, but I feel like that makes a difference, and not just with law enforcement, but any time I'm dealing with other agencies and someone who's in crisis. Does that make sense? What do you think about that? And I just popped you up. I didn't know if I monologued too much and lost you, Tom, or.
Oh, me or Bart?
Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about that, if that was the sense you got, and then I thought I'd check with Bart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, always the veteran community is very appreciative when a veteran has a good team that looks out for them. That is always a good help. I've always asked the veteran too is, okay, well, who do you talk to, or who do you go to get your therapies, and try to get the feel of how that is. Being from my side, I've had both the good and the bad. My last therapy after my suicide attempt, I had a great doctor. He was so good that if I know that I need him, I call him, and he will always help me. So you're right. I mean, it's about the team and building that team up and actually having that caring.
I know if I call him, he will help me.
Yes.
Sometimes you can't train for that, and I wish there was more of that in the system, which is if I know if I call, then I will get helped. Like that. I wish we could bake that in more. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm getting under control. Bart, what do you think?
Well, I'm so glad that Tom is here tonight. There's so much wisdom in the things he's saying, and watching the feed and seeing what folks are talking about, it's really impressive, and it's heartwarming. One of the things that's really clear, and Tom and April, you've both hit on this, we get the best police response, one, when they're trained, and two, when they have compassion for the person. And one of the things, the current crisis around suicide with our veterans is painful. But one of the things that I do see with it is that it emphasizes that it's not about what's wrong with us, it's about what's strong with us, and that suicide and mental illness is something that happens to people, it's not something they choose. And so what we see, and when I see this in police response to veterans in particular, they recognize this is something that we really need to be very patient and careful and supportive, because this person is suffering because this has happened to them. And we see that in other situations as well, but I see it in their response to veterans. I see it in their response to other officers. If I could get officers to respond to everyone the way they respond to an officer having a suicide crisis, oh my God, that would be amazing. Some other things that Tom hit on that I want to challenge a little bit. He said he's not certified or qualified. He is eminently qualified to help people. And one of the things that is so, if there's providers out there, please pay attention to what Tom is saying. It's not about solving the person's problem. When we deal with a person in crisis, there's rarely an easy solution to what they're facing. But when you care about them and you support them and you're there with them, when you hold them, so to speak, emotionally, that is helping. And so you don't need to be certified or qualified to care and help. And that, in fact, caring and wanting to help and being non-judgmental are their own certificates and their own qualifications in and of themselves. And I think that if we had more of that in the provider community, I'd be a much happier person. And I think that's one of the things that we see with peers is that they genuinely care. And that's really, really important. And what Tom is talking about in the peer support and the rallying, the fact that they're able to rally a response. I often talk about suicide being like a social cancer. It like disables all of the natural helping mechanisms around people. And when we do the opposite of that, when we surround people with love and care and we don't let them push away and we don't let systems push us away, we can save lives. And so, Tom, I'm just listening to you in awe. It's amazing.
I'm going to put you back, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. What did you think about that?
No, I mean it's good to see that, and that's what I wish. One of my, and I mean any veteran would be chiming in right now, going they agree that they wish they always had a team that was like that. I don't think we would have the issues we have now if we have that issue. And I mean, you can see that's one of the biggest things that, and you go to any veteran room, is that they don't care about them. They don't check up on them. Their appointments take too long to get, and then when they do get into them, they're not long enough. And I understand workload. I understand, you know, the amount per person thing. But what lacking is sometimes you go into them and it's a time thing. It's like, okay, you got 45 minutes, and then, you know, I'm gonna cut you off 45 minutes, and then there's really there's no love in there anywhere. Luckily, I've been fortunate with the therapists I've had, both in my wife and I were seeing one, and my own separate one, where they actually took the time. They listened. They would follow up. They did that stuff with me where, you know, I see it all the time. That's pretty much punching the clock. Okay, well, I'll see you, and I see both sides. I see the provider side. I get it. The amount of workload per person is overstraining them, and I get it. I just wish there was a way to fix that for both sides. And
say that again. Say that again. You get the providers under strain, and you'd like to solve the problem. Not just because you'd like the providers to feel better, but why is it important to solve that problem for you, Tom?
Well, I mean, because both sides are gonna benefit from it. I'm gonna feel better. I'm gonna come in more. I'm gonna open up more. I'm actually come to you for, you know, what can I do? What can I get? What resources can you get me? When we're just told nothing, or we're told to come in for 45 minutes, share one story, maybe get one bit of advice, and then come back in 3 months. That's not helpful. You know, I've been very, very fortunate where I could get my appointments the way I wanted them and when I needed them, but I know that's not the trend, and that's not the commonality.
This is totally not on our target for tonight, but I want to point this out because it just bears pointing out. That my experience has been overwhelming on the provider end of this, that when patients can get attention when they need it, when they think that they need it, and that when they learn that if they call you, they'll get a response, they'll call when they need you, about the frequency that they need you. And making people wait to get coaching or wait to get therapy at appointment times and not in the moment when they need coaching through the situation, that wait for the appointment time structure is an old structure that I don't think works as well. And I agree with you that I think people get better faster when they can call when they need you.
Right.
And I'm just saying that. I'm sorry. And back into our regular scheduled program. Before we move on to the next question, any other particular challenges you've noticed? I mean, you run a social media peer community for people who are at high risk of suicide or higher risk of suicide, and you specifically look to make sure to help people. Any other challenges that you've noticed?
I mean, the challenges is trying to reach everybody, and one of the biggest challenges is a lot of these groups mean well, and they spring up. There's groups springing up every day, new ones through social media. But one of the biggest challenges is, are they equipped? Some of the things that I've seen is, you know, groups mean well. They set these groups up, but the people that are running the group are almost have as much issues as the people they're trying to help. So what do you do at that point? I was in a group once where an admin was trying to help another person because he thought he could help that person. What it ended up turning into was now you had two cases, and I had to help now not only one person, but I had to help two people now, because the person that needed the help was telling such a deep story to the person that was trying to help him, but he had so many unresolved things too that it now became on him, and now we had two possibilities. And so we mean well, we want to help all of each other out, but some of us, you know, this is a very tough job. I mean, you do what you guys do every day, and that stuff, it's incredible because the amount of stories and stuff. But you know, we see it too, and you know, we all mean well. The veterans community means well, but some of the groups and some of the programs out there, you know, it's people trying to help out, think they can help out. So training would be a very vital thing. Like, is there a certain place that can go? You know, I try to help out with as much as I know and the resources I have. You know, I got CIT trained by a well-known guy out of Kentucky, and I have his training videos and all that stuff now, and I try to lend those out and go, hey, you know, to the admin team or tell the admin team, you know, these are the steps you need to take to, you know, in sequence, because that's another big deal is once a person comes to a page, some of these pages, it becomes chaotic where, oh my God, what do we do? And, they don't know, time is of the essence. What 5 questions do I got to ask right now so I can get some kind of help? And then break it down to, okay, what are the next 5 questions? And then where do we move? It becomes like everybody's on hand. Everyone wants to know answers. Everybody's asking questions. And for the first 10 to 15 minutes, it becomes, everyone's.
It becomes chaotic. So like some of the, what you're basically saying is, and we're moving, this moves us perfectly right into the best practices thing, which is you're saying that moderators really need to have some experience and some training about how to handle emergency mental health crisis situations, because those are probably going to pop up, and if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't have some training, and I've seen the best moderators always have network within the professional community, and I've noticed that, like Carl will tell you that, I'm going to tell you, Desiree Stage will tell you that, you'll tell me that, so that they've like, what do I do? What are the first things I should ask? They have someone to lean on for support, and it's like getting CPR training. You sort of know the first thing I'm supposed to say is, Annie, are you okay? Call 911. I'm saying you sort of know what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is I give a good old plug to AAS, is I saw on their site that they actually have a link to all the crisis centers around the country. And I know when looking at my crisis center within Tampa, I noticed that, wow, they give a lot of training. And they give a lot of other, events that happen. I'm like, oh, wow. So I told a lot of the pages and groups that go, hey, here's a link to their site. Go here, and what city do you live in? Okay, I live in this. Oh, okay, we'll call that crisis center or look on their website, because we go to their website, then it tells them, hey, they're training in QPR, they're training in assist, they're training in some other anything. If you see sexual abuse, there's crisis centers teaching all kinds of training. Usually they're free or minimal cost, and that is another way to spread the training, spread the knowledge, and get that extra. Again, it's just a tool in the toolbox. It gives you that extra confidence, it gives you that extra thing, but that's another great resource that I've started to lean people towards, besides giving them a little, basically the checklist I made was like, hey, here's the steps you go through. Oh, by the way, okay, this is how you go get additional training.
Exactly, and you're sort of talked about sort of your best practices, and I'm wanting to review, but I can't emphasize enough. If you understand that you are moderating a community, if you've started a peer space community, if you have just become one of the regulars who's there a lot, it really behooves you to just get like mental health first aid, just like basic first responder training, because you may be the first person aware, or the second person. Someone may come to you as a point person to like, so what do we do next? And I just think it's one of those deals, like if you know you're a point person, then you should behave with that level of responsibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you got to know how to talk. Because and the biggest thing I teach people is how to talk to people. Is when you talk to them, you can't assume what their issue is. Like I never go into a conversation with telling them, well, think about your kids, or think about your wife, or think about your dog. I don't know if that's not the trigger for them. I don't know if that's what got them to that point, and now they're mad. And now what did I do? I just brought up a situation that may be the trigger for where they are. It may have been spilled milk. It may have been, the dog pooped on the floor. I don't know. I don't know what their trigger is. So I beat around and I talk to them and I get them to tell me what it is. So I then try to either avoid that or then use my other skill sets where I now minimize it. Like, really, let's talk about that. Let's go through that. Was it that bad? Okay, how can we work through that? So for me, and it's exactly what my wife used on me, was she knew what was being said to me was not helping. To the people that were talking to me, they thought that was helping me. They were like, telling me to think about this, think about that. Well, no, that wasn't what I needed. I needed a hug. Basically, that's what I needed. I needed a hug, and I wasn't getting that hug, and it was actually making me worse than it was making me better. And she eyed on that and went the total opposite route, where she then made it about me. So I always make it about them. What's wrong? What's going on? Talk to me. I never go, well, think about your kids that you got. Well, think about your spouse. I don't know if that's what triggered them. And all I did was make me one of the bad guys. I could be like, oh, so now you're siding with, oh my God, now I got to double work. I got to back talk. I got to make up, a backstory. And it just gets worse. So I need them to tell me and work. That's where some of the skill sets of going through those classes hopefully will teach them is, how do you talk? Because that initial 5-minute conversation, that controls it right there. You either gain your credibility or you just lost it.
This is great stuff. We're going to take just a bit of a break to go to the feed because we've gone a long time without going to check in the feed. Bart, a couple things that I've noticed. People were very, very interested in you sort of pointing out that being able to get help when you need it makes a difference. That resonated. A lot of folks talking about being able to check in on people, and there was a big theme of a lot of folks noticing that the Veteran Network is a network, and so there's something protective about being able to count on people who sort of are from your point of view, most likely, who have a certain sense of community with you, wanting to reach out to you, that the network matters. Other themes that you saw, Bart?
Well, I think the amount of wisdom that Tom is sharing with us tonight, and just watching the feed and the response, people are saying things like, God, I really am glad I'm here tonight. Glad I didn't miss this SPSM chat tonight. That makes me so happy. Some things that Tom's talking about that I just want to really highlight. One, the person that we're working with has a story, and their story is important. The only way that you can hear their story is if you let them talk about their story. And I think what often happens in crisis situations is that people go into a very directive mode, and they try to move it along because they're trying to push because they're freaked out, to be quite honest. And what Tom's talking about is let the person tell you what they need. Let them tell you what's going on with them. Learn from them. They have wisdom. When he talked about, well, I needed a hug, that wisdom, when we honor the wisdom of the people that we're trying to help, magical things happen. It's huge. The other thing that Tom hit on, there's a lot of stuff that he done that's really important. I want to give a plug to Assist because a lot of things that Tom's talking about tie right into Assist and Assist training. There's a couple of pieces that go along with that. One, that we have to be aware of our own attitudes, beliefs, feelings, and emotions around working with people in crisis, working with people at risk of suicide. Assist is the only training I've seen that really helps you process and become aware of your own stuff around working with people in crisis and people who are struggling with suicide. And it's an important part of training. Two, he talked about sometimes you're not in a place where you can do intervention. Providers, peers, friends, doesn't make any difference. There's sometimes when you're not in a place where you can be the caregiver and you might need to get other folks involved or bad things can happen. And so knowing that sometimes you've got to set limits, that doesn't mean you don't help the person, but you get somebody else involved to take over, because there's times when it's too much for us. And so a lot of things, and the motivational interviewing concepts of trusting in the expertise, that people are experts in their own lives, Tom has said that so loud and clear, and that's just that wisdom is so important, and we need more of that, and hearing Tom talk about that and seeing the response in the feed is really cool.
And I've just been looking at that. Just one more thing that I've noticed that Tom was really talking about. So Tom talked about how I really do try to look up what the crisis services are in the area, both the community and the VA. And what everybody is noticing is that there is some sense of them knowing what that is or is not, and like, how do I find that or how do I not find it? And thank you for listening to AS resource. Bill Schmitz posted that for you. One of the things that we've noticed, crisis community, is that, in fact, for you to Google up a resource as like if you were a peer moderator of a peer space and you wanted to help somebody who was at a distance, like for you to find the community resources is actually not that easy. And Tom, can you talk a little bit about how you learned how to find community resources at a distance?
I guess I Googled, I did, so I've done, I just do research. I just plug away with suicide, I plug away with the organization, I've looked through AES, I do a lot of research. I try to keep myself informed, I try to keep myself abreast of it all by like, okay, well, I never know. I've dealt with people in about every state, and I've tried to, okay, well, if I got to deal with this person, I've kind of done it by trial and error, like, not the hard way, by going, okay, what do I got to look? Who's got more research? Like, I was going to set up, my idea was to go with, I didn't want to know crisis centers everywhere. How do I do that? I'll start here in Florida, small, and then I'll work national. Well, I didn't know, which I should know because I'm in the military, that it's already probably been done for me before. And I'm not really coming up with something new.
You should not know, like, I'm going to take this off of you. I think that if we want people in the community to be better at helping each other, then crisis services need to have a really easy way for people to find the resource where it needs to be found. Like, we need to use technology that we have so that crisis centers are easily found and Googled. Like, when you Google it, it pops right up, because you've had to learn kind of which search terms to use and how to go about finding it. like, considering that we're trying to make it easy and reduce barriers for people in crisis, I think we've actually not done a great job of, like, there's somebody who's there, we've got a person in crisis, we've got a person who wants to help. We should be using social media and technology to make it very easy for you to magic up where the help is and get them to it. And in fact, we haven't done that great, quite honestly.
Right.
But thank you for persisting, damn it. Thank you for persisting. I mean, that you persisted and figured out a way to do it is truly a mark of your character. It's just it's a step beyond what a lot of people end up being able to do. We had a question, Tom. Are most of the people that you work with active duty?
Work with as in
people that
I
you
help?
Yeah, the people in your community that you serve.
It's a mixture. I've helped veterans. I've called commands before, and commands have gone out and grabbed up their soldier and helped them, and then we make sure I've stayed direct with the command and talked to their senior leaders, because obviously being a senior leader myself, I have that ability where, like, okay, hey, this guy's having a rough time, you might want to look into this, and kind of keep me abreast of, how can I help them out. Because most of the leadership doesn't know or how to do it or what they need to look for. So I try to offer my assist, like, hey, you need some help looking for this. And then most of them, they're veterans that got out that are dealing with the VA, and due to wherever they're at or having issues where they can't get in for months to see, and you know what? Okay, well here's the veteran community. What's your issue? And we've done it where we've done them anonymously. Where, okay, well, what's your issue? Watch this. I'll put you on this page that has 150,000 followers. Guess what? Don't say anything. Watch what the response is. And then you can either contact the people that you want to contact, or you can put your chime in there, or you can go through me and say, I want to talk to this person. And I go try to get that person, like, okay, well, here you go. Talk to these people.
That's impressive.
So, I mean, there's multiple ways of skinning the cat and getting around, if people want to stay anonymous, or, have them just sit back and watch the comments come in. So you don't believe, and we had a situation where a guy was in remote nowhere, and he thought that his problem was the only problem and no one else could have it. I said, watch this, and put it in there, and he realized that it was a common issue, and had about 400 comments, and people wanting to talk to him. Where are you at? I'll come help you. I'll come barbecue with you. I'll go have a beer with you. And I said, just watch, and then you comment if you want. And he openly commented and said, hey, I live here, and there was about 3 veterans that were like, hey, I'm about an hour from you. Let's go grab a beer this weekend. And that's where we reach out. That's why the veteran community we grab each other, and it doesn't matter. I've never met this person, but you know what? I'll drive an hour or 2 hours away to just sit down and talk to them, have a beer, or I'll call them up and I'll sit and listen to them for an hour.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing.
Let me get you up, Bart.
So I think one of the things that's really so clear about this is that it's about relationships, and it's about people needing to be with people, and that one of the ways that we show care is just spending time with folks, right? And that when people have that sense of belonging, that's really powerful. And so that just going out and driving to go see somebody says how much you care about them. I'm just going to drive 2 hours to see you. That message is so powerful and so healing. People need to be cared about, and the sorts of things Tom is talking about demonstrate so much care and respect for people, and that saves lives. That's some of the most life-saving things that we've ever seen. I mean, you guys know about the postcard studies, right? I mean, just a postcard being sent to somebody saying, hey, we're thinking about you, want to know we care, it helps people stay alive. It helps them stay connected. Imagine the power of driving someplace to go see somebody just to be there with them. And I think this is one of the things that's really key. Care about them as a person, not just as somebody that needs help. I think that when I'm going to sit down and have a beer with somebody, or we'll have a soda, or we'll go get something to eat together, the fact that this is about me caring about you beyond just what's going on in your life and your problems, that I care about you as a whole person, that's so powerful, and that's amazing, and we need more of that. We all can do that. Providers do that. We need more of that, and Tom is modeling. The other thing, resources is really important. One, you can just call your local crisis line. A good crisis line, if you say, we've got somebody in Los Angeles, I know that you're local, they will find that for you. My VHR will do that. We will help you find resources.
Can we get the crisis lines to do more public education, that they're able to do that? Because Tom shouldn't have to find out about that on a chat or whatever. Like, the public doesn't realize that.
And I think that this is a good point. Crisis lines are just I mean, the power, and we've been talking about immediate help. Crisis lines can provide that. Crisis lines have got to get better about making sure that message is out there and they know that assistance is available. I know the VA hotline will do that. Any of the NSPL members will do that. Will help you find resources. But we need to do a better job of putting that out there. I know we talked about veteran-specific resources, and there's so many really cool veteran-specific resources, but they're hard to find. They're really hard to find. So Allison Alsop at BHR got a small grant to create a compendium of veteran-specific resources that she's working on, which is big, big stuff. And we need to find a way to get that centralized. So if there's anybody from the VA paying attention, let's do that. Let's get a centralized. Let's get that out there. And let's do a plug for our 211 centers out there as well, because a lot of the 211 centers will do the same thing. So, but this is just amazing, and it's about relationships. I know you guys will hear me say that all the time, but when people feel cared about, they get better.
One of the other things that we're trying to do within the veteran community that's coming up is that we're actually doing, trying to find out to get links to friends. So if we have a group set up to get a friend within you that is a backup phone. So if I do go into a crisis, then an admin or somebody within that group maintains a list that they can then call my wife or a friend and say, hey, I just saw Tom post something crazy, and then can you go and look at them now? So that's we're starting to advance it farther, where now we're, okay, because I can't get a hold of you, now I don't have to sit there and now try to go through all my law enforcement, try to go through chats. Now we kind of have, each group is setting up a little call roster where, okay, well, I can't get a hold of Tom, I'm going to call his second line in person. And then
so like that's part of people's profile. If you're modding a group, that's part of their profile?
Well, it's starting, and we're trying to get that going now, and it's been spinning around where is that possible? How much people are going to participate? Is it good? I mean, I believe it's a good idea.
I agree, because I do, a lot of that's like what I do with my crisis folks, and I do think that's really useful, and I cannot wait to hear how this goes for you. So you have to commit, pinky swear, blood oath, whatever. You have to commit to telling the group in the next few months how that all turns out, like snags that you find, how people felt about it. I'm dying to hear how this actually goes. We're in the last couple minutes. We didn't get to your dream big, so your choice for final thoughts is you can either sort of say what you think was important final thought for the session, or you can talk about where you hope for the future of moderated peer spaces. Your choice.
I'll talk about what I hope to see. I would love to see that all the veteran groups that are set up become under one umbrella under social media, because there are so many pockets and still so many are missing. People are still dying, so we're not doing it right still within the veteran community. Get them all under an umbrella and get somebody over top, and then to bridge or peer with national organizations, resources, and have that middle team be that people like myself and a bunch of other groups where I got a veteran, I have an instant number I can give financial, bank, marriage, and I can get it anywhere across and basically build that umbrella between the veteran community, civilian community, and there is not, or veteran ran resources, blah, 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 but get that all under one umbrella, because right now everybody is fighting for their own corner, and guess what? There's a street in between there that everyone's still falling through.
Brilliant. Bart, final thoughts.
Some final thoughts is that this is the future. Suicide is a social health problem. Everybody can help, and the more people we have involved, the more boots on the ground that we can bring in, the more lives we're going to save. And so I want this to spread like wildfire. What you're doing, Tom, we just need to take this model and just spread it all across the land, because it's what's going to change the world, change the culture, change the format. Providers have a role, peers have a role, but everybody needs to be working together, and we can do this. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, big thank you. Tony Wood, any final thoughts, especially any final commentary from the feed, which I've hardly been able to keep up with?
My goodness, there's a lot of activity on this issue. Bart, because Bart has not had to juggle some of the issues that I've had on my end, I bet is a little bit better at covering what's been happening.
Okay, do you want me to move on?
No, we're going to move back to Bart, because Bart's going to tell us what's going on with the feed.
What's going on with the feed, Bart?
So the feed is that people are loving it. Things like nailed it, and the aspect of caring being so important. Bill Schmitz is saying yes to all this stuff. One of the things, the other thing that's being family. when we talk about veterans, we sometimes forget to talk about veterans' families, and that's a really important thing that we need to highlight. The good job veterans' families are doing, but we need to support them too and consider the role that they have, and we need to bring and rally services around them. Lots of support. I think there's a general consensus that a centralized, I like the word compendium, I'll just keep saying that, a compendium, an online compendium of veteran resources, all, as Tom says, under one umbrella, where we can search that and get that out to people. Those are things that are really exciting on the feed. And the role of crisis lines and the need for crisis lines to have a stronger role and to promote themselves better. So those are some key points.
And a shout out to Adam Hoffer and
Shout
Anne Marie.
out to our Myrick, Rocky Mountain Myrick. We're going to see you this week. Follow
Stu
along
Suicide, Crystal
at
Road, Shy Lewis.
#BLPsych15 because we are going to be talking more about the conference coming up this week, and I want to mention a couple things as we're at the top of the hour. We are talking about veterans in crisis, so if you know a veteran in crisis and if you don't have Tom to help you, you can call 1-800-273-8255, press 1, veteranscrisisline.net. You can Google this stuff up and chat, and you can consult. If I were going to do though a take home, like a big thing it is, I would love to see SIGIMSA, Zero Suicide, all you fancy folks out there, someone finding a way to get better, make it easier for people like Tom, who are the influencers in their social networks, to have good ease of access to crisis resources and ease of access to getting training, so that we have more influencers and moderators of social media communities who just by virtue of their placement in the community run across how to get good crisis intervention sort of training, like sort of mental health first aid, and we need to make it easier for people to, it's a marketing issue, for people to know how, for people to Google up how to get resources to somebody that they're worried about. Because if Tom is that dedicated and it's still hard, then it is too hard. So let's make it easier. You've had another fine hour with SPSM. You guys do things about my faith in humanity that, quite frankly, would be too mushy to fully explain. But you have really touched my heart this week. Please do come join us next week. There's gonna be some conference tweeting with some really innovative stuff about computational linguistics, computer science, and suicide prevention this week. So definitely follow that tag. Shout out to #RMyrick, because Tony and I and Glenn Coppersmith and Craig Harmon and a bunch of other SPSM alum are gonna all be in Denver this week. And take care. If you want to be on the SPSM feed on Facebook, let us know so we can add you. That is suicide prevention social media that happens 24/7 and pretty much never sleeps. And join the list. Everybody have a good day. The list. Bye-bye.